TomTalks. Here we are again. Hello lads, hello lasses, and welcome to the 7th instalment of TomTalks, the programme where we talk about everything to do with Blue Bastard. Let's see what the topic is tonight. Take it away, Sheffield. Every story in this world has a title. Something that tells you about the story's characters, its main plot element, or both. Some titles are really good, some are bad, and some were changed. Thomas is no stranger to title changes. On many occasions, the episodes of the television series have had more than one title in the UK and US dubs, though this doesn't always apply to these two dubs alone. So today, we're going to be looking at various title alterations across the Thomas & Friends TV series. We'll be looking at how the TV series changed various Railway series titles for better or worse, how the US dub changed various UK titles for better or worse, and we'll be looking at how the Jack spin-off titles were mostly changed for the worst. How drastic, interesting, and or weird were these title changes? Let's find out! When the Railway series was first adapted for the screen in 1984, most of the titles remained the same as they did in the books. However, something that was common to the book adapted stories was merging two stories into one. This is where one of the first instances of title changing comes into play. While Edward and Gordon's title wasn't changed for what was the first instance of two stories being merged, others were. For instance, James and the Coaches, which combined the stories James in the Top Hat and James in the Bootlace. And since both stories involve coaches, this title change worked well, I feel. Then there's the instance of extending or shortening the original titles. An example of the former would be the title of Sir Handel being extended to A Bad Day for Sir Handel. And an example of the latter would be shortening the title of Tenders for Henry to the much less iconic Tender Engines. Speaking of Season 3 episodes, one of the last examples I want to look at for this section is completely changing the title from the original source. A good example of this would be changing the generic Percy and the Trousers to the much better A Scarf for Percy, which I have brought up before in a previous TomTalks video, but for the most part, the titles were kept consistent with their original book counterparts in the UK. Now let's see how the US ran wild with name changing. As strange as it sounds, the US dub of Thomas didn't actually have title changes in the beginning. When the episodes were being vesseled by Shining Time Station when that was still a thing, they were credited with their UK titles. It wasn't until the first American home media release of the show when the episodes were released with drastically different names from their UK counterparts. 19 of the 26 episodes of Season 1, a whopping 73% of the episodes have had their titles changed, extended, or reworked for the American audiences, either to fit terminologies over there, focus on only one central character present in the story, or give an entirely new meaning to the story. An example of the latter is Off the Rails, renamed Gordon Takes a Dip, which has the same figurative meaning if you get what I mean. This was significantly toned down in Season 2, with only 7 episodes being renamed for the American audiences. If I'm honest, I think it was for the best that lesser titles were renamed from Season 2 onwards. While I kinda like a lot of these changes, there are some that rub me the wrong way if I'm honest. A lot of them seem a lot more generic and, for lack of a better word, kiddie than the UK titles. Trucks, for instance, wasn't renamed to Cars, but rather to the clunky, generic Rusty Helps Peter Sam. Oh, but it gets worse. It gets fucking worse. Okay, let's just cut to the chase. We all know the Jack spin-off. We all know what big ambitions it had that were unfortunately lost once Thomas fell into the hands of good old Hit. Also because of Hit, the titles of nearly every Jack episode was changed. I don't have a lot to say about this, other than these new titles are quite frankly terrible. They speak for themselves in terms of why they're crap. I can only imagine what the titles of the cancelled episodes would have been changed to, but since they never got made, thank God they didn't. So those were the strange instances of retitling in the Thomas & Friends franchise. What do you guys make of these strange retitles? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Before I skedoodle, we must now go over to engineer Pixel Toby, live from Shepperton Studios, who's getting behind the reason of the retitles. Why do they do it, Pixel? Brilliant info, man, thanks a lot!